Welcome to Eat More Football, the show that satisfies your craving for hot takes. This week we'll be talking about horns down, blowout Oklahoma. We'll be talking about a little Kentucky, South Carolina. What's happening, Wildcats? And Florida and Alabama escaped with some very narrow wins. But since we're not doing weekend sports, let's check in with TJ, who's doing a little EMF on the road this week.
Hello, everyone. I'm at the Jags versus the Texans. I'm not sure how well you can hear me. The audio is super loud on the speakers, but just give me a second if you can't hear me. Our offense looks like trash today. It's absolutely trash. Trevor Lawrence is not playing well. We just allowed another score by the Texans. Their first touchdown of the game with the 2-minute warning that we're in right now. So it's not looking too good, but we are driving. We're at midfield, as I said, with the 2-minute warning. Really not a great experience. Honestly, our fans are not good today. It's super quiet there. So
show us the stadium, how packed it is.
I will show you the stadium and how packed it is. There's the away side.
Plenty of tickets.
Oof. And on the home side right now. We switched the halfway through. It's more packed over here than it is everywhere. But yeah, we're driving. Let's watch this play right here. I think we're just probably going to get out of this morning.
How do you see from there? I can't even tell what's going on.
It's going to be like a old school like Nintendo game watching this here.
Yeah, seriously.
Audio cutting in and out.
Yeah, it's pretty loud here.
I don't think it's not the audio cutting out. It's so loud in that stadium right now, I'm sure, because all the fans. I see the random dude behind you. So see the girl peeping over your shoulder like, what is this dude doing with his phone out? Yeah. So we need to get consent from those people to make sure they're okay being in this like show that broadcasts across the nation.
I'm sure they'll be fine. They're not even sure. Like, no one's standing up, nothing. It's ridiculous how boring it is.
Go Jags, man. Hopefully y'all can pull it out there in the last 2 minutes. We'll know by Thursday by the time this airs. So
yeah.
All right, man. We got Jake filling in for you today, so we got a good replacement for you. We're glad you're having a good time. Hopefully they'll pull out the win, but we wanted to get you in live here today.
Live and on the road. We will be on the road, and I'll release that before the show airs. So see you guys then.
See you later. Have fun.
Thanks to TJ for giving us a little footage of the Jags game, EMF on the road. So let's talk first about Navy midshipmen, a surprising win for Navy. It's very surprising that they actually won, and it's also surprising that they won by that many points.
Yeah, it is. And you got 2 Navy grads on the show now, so we're fired up, man. We got a couple wins under our belt now. I looked at it last night because I was curious because they have not scored. And yesterday was unbelievable how many points they scored. Tulsa just could not stop them. It was like 450 yards rushing or something. Tulsa looked like they'd never played against the option in their life. But everything was going right for Navy. Defense was playing well. They were bringing all kinds of pressure against Tulsa. They couldn't figure it out. But Navy scored 53 points yesterday. You know how many points they scored in their first 4 games total?
It's probably
53. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they scored just as many points yesterday as they did their first 4 games combined. So, hey, great job by the midshipmen.
I got a confession on that one too, because you texted me. I forgot to fill in the Tulsa Navy pick, and the reason I forgot that pick in particular because I was analyzing that game, and I actually went against our midshipmen, and I went Tulsa just because of how bad Navy has been this year, especially on offense. Just cannot figure it out. And then I'm watching the game, and it's like this is like a totally different triple option team. Like they had 4 rushers that set career highs for rushing yards, and I did have a hunch that Navy was going to be competitive in that game, just because Tulsa's run defense was so poor. And usually if you have a terrible run defense, the option is only going to exacerbate that. So I guess it was just the right matchup at the right time. So maybe this gets a little momentum for the midshipmen and get a couple more wins. But I was looking at their schedule coming up, and I don't know if we get the 6 wins this year. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. And I have a confession as well. I am 0-5 picking Navy games this year. The beauty in that, though, is I can guarantee if I pick against Navy, which I did yesterday because I was tired of it, they will win if I pick against them. So that's so they're going to a bowl, baby. I'm going to pick against them the rest of the way, and they're going to win every game from here on out.
Yeah. Keep picking against them, Craig.
Another game that happened this week. I mentioned it earlier. Oklahoma, what is happening? Gosh, they had that dominant performance against Nebraska, and then they kind of just went down. Their whole season's kind of going down the drain right now. 49-0. That's like, I think I saw a thing. It's the worst blowout, like worst loss in Red River history since 1965. Like, that's really just not good.
Yeah, and it's their worst shutout loss ever in their history, period, in any game. So
that hurts against a rival.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn Ewers is phenomenal. Texas he's played in those. I didn't count the Alabama game, but in the 2 games that he played prior to or yesterday, and then the one before the Alabama game, then he played in that first quarter. Texas has averaged 50.5 points. When he's gone, 33 points they've averaged. So that he's a difference maker. And then on the Brent Venables defensive side, Oklahoma has only given up 40+ points one time last year. They've done it 3 in the last 3 weeks, 3 times in the last 3 weeks. It's crazy.
Seriously. Next game we're going to talk about here. How about South Carolina? Good win for Shane Beamer right there against the 13-ranked Wildcats. How about that?
Yeah, that was.
I missed that pick as well. I thought Kentucky would grind that one out, and I didn't catch most of the game. But it looked like Kentucky just can't score enough points. Usually they win those kind of grind them out kind of games, but the offense has kind of been missing. You can't win only scoring 2 touchdowns at home. But it's a big win for South Carolina because South Carolina really is probably going to have like a so-so year, and to get to 6 wins, they got to be bowl eligible. They got to steal a couple games like this. So big one for South Carolina.
Yeah, their quarterback goes out too, right? Kentucky, I think Revis was gone out, so it's like the weekend of the second-string quarterbacks playing, and they were just sloppy the whole game, very sloppy. Yeah,
looking at it right here on ESPN, Kaya Sharon was the one that was playing for Kentucky, and his QBR for the game 29.5. So that might explain some things.
Yeah, and they had Beamer ball. They blocked the punt. Blocked the punt, and I saw we're in the locker room because Shane Beamer and Stoops had a little bit of a words earlier in the year because he was saying about staying in. When Stoops and Calipari had that issue, right? And Stoops was like, stay in your lane, whatever. So he also said something about basically implying he was talking about South Carolina, how I'm not going to be one that's going to run around and dance on camera and sing songs and stuff like that, or wear stupid hats. And, the video that Shane Beamer did. And so they asked Shane Beamer about it. And Shane Beamer said, I know he wouldn't say anything directed at our program because he just asked somebody else to stay in their lane. So he'll probably stay in his own lane. And so last night in the locker room, Beamer put on the hat backwards, put on the glasses, and started doing that dance. So, wow.
I love the pettiness. I'm here for it.
It's Beamer ball for you right there. All right. Next game we're going to talk about. Alabama struggle win against Texas A&M.
Oh, yes.
That was rough to watch, especially for an Alabama fan. Too many fumbles.
Yeah, it was. All I have to say is, what is Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M doing on that last play of the game? Just, you don't give yourself a chance. That was
such a bad call. Johnny Manziel tweeted about it. Actually, he said he's like, that's the worst play call I've ever seen. It's pretty bad. And Jimbo Fisher, that's kind of been the knock on him. Is him like as a play caller, and his offense is just in this day and age like. And if you look at it outside of like the years with Jameis Winston, he really hasn't had anything special on offense with all those players, super talented, I love the fact that it was just an ugly, like sloppy game overall, because just the pettiness between the coaches going at it was very fitting. I felt like for Texas A&M to somehow they get beat by Appalachian State at home, like they're outplayed up front, but then they go on the road to Tuscaloosa. They get 4 turnovers. They come down, they have a play to win the game at the very end. Of course, it's just a terrible, unimaginative play call.
Yeah.
But it's really funny. If you look at what Texas A&M has done with Jimbo Fisher overall, their investment in him and what they paid him is essentially they've gotten the same results as Kevin Sumlin, but for, millions more dollars. So hopefully that's a lesson to maybe some of the boosters out there that are like really going after some of these coaches. Because I think it's gotten to a point where it's a little bit insane. And there's some institutional things, I think, that just some teams it's going to take a little bit to get over the hump. And I don't know, maybe A&M is just one of those teams. They're still very young. So if you looked at their front 7 on defense, it's like sophomores, freshmen. They could be scary in a couple of years. And if they get a quarterback, like a real quarterback, not that was it Haynes King.
Mm-hmm.
I think that played, not that he was terrible, but they really don't have a special talent at quarterback. If they had like a Quinn Ewers or somebody like that, or like find a transfer quarterback that fits better in their system, they could be very, very lethal. So they might be like one quarterback away from really being a top 5 team. But
I think it does show you, though, the talent that they have, that they could go toe to toe with Alabama in Tuscaloosa. They're pretty talented. It's just deciding to play.
Even with all those freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah, definitely. And then last game we're going to talk about here, we're going to do some Utah UCLA, battle of two very solid Pac-12 teams. UCLA improving to 6-0. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, I mentioned it a couple weeks ago with Chip Kelly. Watch out for UCLA. I did not think that they would beat Utah, if I'm being quite transparent. I didn't think they'd beat them. I picked Utah. But, man, you got to pay attention to UCLA now. They've earned some respect, and they've actually got a road to where they could possibly be undefeated going into a November 19th matchup against USC. They have Oregon, I think, this upcoming week, but then they've got Arizona State, Arizona, and Stanford. They could be undefeated going into that not last game, but the game before the last game against USC, which could be a blockbuster national type implication matchup. So we'll see. I think they're playing good ball.
Yeah, I was impressed from what I saw. Was it Dorian DTR Thompson Robinson, I think? Their quarterback for UCLA. He's been there a while. He's a pretty senior guy, and football has become such a quarterback-centric game that if you have a player like that on your roster with a Chip Kelly at coach who's a great offensive mind, they're going to be in it to win pretty much every game the rest of the way. And I think they've acquired enough talent on both sides of the ball to. And the Pac-12 overall, as we all know, is not super, super great. So I'm starting to believe in UCLA. I think USC is also, like, both LA teams could potentially be have a legitimate shot at being undefeated. I don't think either team will end up undefeated, because I think the Pac-12 is one of those leagues that, for whatever reason, every year, even their top contenders seem to go on the road somewhere, right? And they end up losing a game. So dropping it, something really wild or crazy. So I don't know. I'm starting to believe that UCLA could be there. And I was impressed that they beat Utah, but again, it was at home. So I'd like to see them go on the road. You got to go on the road, and I'm not sure who they have on their schedule on the road, but I feel like they're going to drop at least one or possibly 2 games on the road, just even though they're potentially a better team, just because, like, that's generally how the Pac-12 has kind of played out the last couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they got Oregon next week. That's gonna be a prime time matchup right there, which
I think
you
it's on
usually
the
don't
road.
see
Yeah, is that one on the road?
in Eugene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's what that again. If they win on the road in at Autzen Stadium, that's a very tough building to go and win. So if they pull it out, you're absolutely looking at a team that could run the table potentially, and maybe we're talking about UCLA as a potential playoff contender, which would be really surprising for a lot of people starting this year. So again, if you've got a quarterback and a special talent like DTR, you got a chance to win. So big.
Yeah. So this next segment, we'll be going into winner chicken dinner. So I'll start, and then we'll go to Coach C, and then our guest Jake. So my winner chicken dinner is going to be DTR, quarterback for UCLA. He's been playing out of his mind this season. 1,500 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions on the season. So he has been playing out of his mind. Next week they play Oregon, but he played great. And I guarantee you UCLA would not be 6-0 if he wasn't playing this high level of football. So my winner chicken dinner, DTR. Great job this week.
I mean, if he keeps that up, he's probably going to start, and they keep playing well and winning, he's probably going to get on that Heisman list,
race,
I'm sure. Yeah, with those stats. All right, my winner chicken dinner. I was thinking about this one last week, and we didn't end up doing that segment. So it actually fits again for this week. My winner chicken dinner are your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and interim coach Brent Key. I mean, they have just been awful the last 3.5 years. They fire their head coach, Jeff Collins. They go to Pitt on the road against a top 25 team and win last week. They come back home as a home underdog against Duke, who Duke is a much improved football team, and beat Duke in overtime. It's the first time since 2018 that Georgia Tech has won back-to-back football games. Jeff Collins never won more than one game in a row. Okay. And now they've done it with an interim head coach, Brent Key. And we mentioned him, I think, last week or the week before. He's doing a great job motivating those players. Georgia Tech has the talent to compete in the ACC. They did a nice job. They recruited well. They got some talent there, and they've won back-to-back games. And honestly, looking at it, they've got a tough schedule ahead. But if they can continue to play well, I don't think a bowl's out of the question for Georgia Tech at this point. With the way they've turned these things around, they just got to get to 6. They got 3 right now. Need 3 more. They're halfway through. So winner chicken dinner. Great job by the Yellow Jackets rallying and getting that thing turned back. It appears to be in the right direction.
Yeah, he might by the end of the year might not have interim in front of his title anymore.
Exactly.
My winner chicken dinner. I'm gonna go with the Arizona State Sun Devils. At home, they upset the Washington Huskies 45-38. And specifically, I'm going to give a shout out to Trenton Burgett, backup quarterback for Arizona State. The starter, Emory Jones, got knocked out of the game. So backup quarterback gets in there, and he probably had one of the best performances of backup quarterbacks out there. There were a lot of them that played this past weekend. He was 15 of 21 for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns for a QBR of 93.9. So that's not easy to do, to come off the bench, fill in for a talented starter and really go toe to toe with a Washington team that can put up a lot of points to win a shootout game like that. So big props to him, especially in a program that, with all the staff churn that they've had with Herm Edwards and all that. It's kind of a program that's in flux. So to go and kind of support your teammates and get out there and perform well like that and pull the upset at home, it's kind of a big win for those guys. So hats off to them.
All right, now it's time to go into our picks for this week. We have our guest Jake here. He's going to be taking a few of these big time matchups. But first, let's go over our past guest pickers. So first place overall, we have Craig's wife, Maribeth, 4-1. And then Lonnie, the big Georgia fan, went 3-2. And last week, Gabe went 4-5. I can't believe we actually picked 9 games, but hey, I guess so. So some overall pretty okay records for a crazy year of college football. All right, so now we're going to the games. I guess I'll go first, and then Craig, and then Jake, because that's the order we did when we were chicken. So first game that we're picking is Penn State versus Michigan. It is a top 10 matchup. Michigan's number 5, Penn State's number 10. Michigan's 73% chance to win and a touchdown favorite. I'm picking the Wolverines in a close one. What about you, Coach?
All right, so I got to agree with you. 7-point favorite, Michigan at home in the big house. Hard to believe both these teams are undefeated, more so Penn State, that they've survived this long. I mean, they haven't been overly convincing in my opinion. I'm trying to find where I put my projections for the Big Ten. Yeah, I projected actually, so I'm going back on this. I actually projected Penn State as number 2 in the Big Ten preseason. Yeah, but I think I'm going to have to go with Michigan. I just can't go against Big Blue at home.
Yeah, I'm also going with Jim Harbaugh and his meal plan of steak dinners and whole milk. I think they're going to be physical at the line of scrimmage. And I haven't been overly impressed with what Penn State is putting out there. So it's hard to see them going into the big house and pulling out a win. But Michigan has played some close games this year. So it wouldn't surprise me if this came down to the very end, but you gotta like the home team there. Jay McCarthy, their quarterback, has been playing well. So I'm going with Michigan on that one.
All right, Michigan, all 3 of us. All right, next game, the CBS primetime, Alabama versus Tennessee. It's in Knoxville, and Alabama's got a 69.8% chance to win, and they're the 8-point favorite. I can't pick against Alabama, so you already know who I'm picking. Craig, how about you?
We were talking about it earlier on the show, and I've got 2 stipulations. Okay, 1, if Bryce Young plays, I've got Alabama winning in Knoxville. 2, there you go. 2, if Bryce Young does not play, I've got Alabama losing in Knoxville. Okay, I do think there's a huge drop off, as we saw last week. He's a good player. The backup quarterback's a really good player. But Tennessee, I doubted them early in the season. I doubted them preseason. But I'm kind of on the bandwagon now a little bit. I think Big Orange are playing well, and they are a real force in that SEC East and SEC overall. So I got both teams winning, depending on situations of who plays quarterback for Alabama.
Play your cards right.
Yeah, I'm also on that same kind of thinking. I think the Bryce Young thing is going to make a difference. Right now, I don't know. It was his throwing shoulder, right?
Yes.
Right shoulder. So I think if it lingers a little bit, it could also pose problems. So I think even if Bryce Young plays, I'm still kind of leaning towards Tennessee at this point. Tennessee at home, they're going to score points, so Alabama's going to have to keep up. And they played really sloppy football at home against A&M, and they're not going to get away with that if they start turning the ball over. So I guess I'll caveat maybe if Alabama is starting to Bryce Young is looking healthy and going into that game, maybe I change my mind and go Alabama. But at this point, I'm actually going to go with Tennessee, and I'm definitely going with Tennessee for the points. If you're telling me that Alabama is going to go on the road and win by more than 1 score, I think you got to take, like right now I'm seeing the spread is 7.5. So if you see any kind of spread that's a touchdown or greater, I would definitely take Tennessee on that at home any day. So yeah, Tennessee, I guess right now.
And I realize I can't get a split graphic with my pick. So if I got to just be pinned to one person, it is Sunday and we have 6 days or 4. I can't do math, obviously. How many days till Thursday when this airs? I'll go with Alabama for my official pick.
Okay, good. Got at least 2 of us picking the right team. All right. Next up, battle of the 2 undefeated Big 12 teams. Probably the 2 best teams in the Big 12. The Fighting Gundies versus the Horned Frogs. Right now, TCU's 57% chance to win. They're a 2.5 favorite. It's at TCU. You know what? Picking Horned Frogs. I've been on the fence, but I'm gonna go with TCU. Greg?
You're a big Horned Frogs guy, aren't you? You picked them quite a bit recently.
I do. Yeah.
And
I've been right.
They've been good to you. They have not lost. I've been impressed. I was impressed with them this past week against Kansas. They're athletic. They're very athletic. I thought Kansas would win at home, but they went in there and took it from them. So, but I'm also very impressed with Oklahoma State. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I picked Oklahoma State to be my number 4 team in the playoff. And I got to go with Gundy. Even on the road, Gundy's going to get the W.
Gundy's going to Gundy.
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me. Oklahoma. I really like Oklahoma State. I think Mike Gundy's a fantastic coach. Their quarterback Saunders, I think, is he's been there. He's been around. He's got some experience. They've proven they can win on the road, especially that they had a big win against Baylor earlier in the year. So TCU's playing really well, though. What they did to Oklahoma really shellacked them right from the get-go. And Sonny Dykes has got that program rolling. So I don't know. I like Mike Gundy a lot. I think they'll come up with some plays and figure out a way to win. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma State on the road as well. But it's going to be a very, very, very close one. So we'll see. Big 12 is always kind of unpredictable.
That's true. Wild conference. All right. Next up, we have TJ's team, and I think Jake's teams too. Is he rocking a little Florida Gators jacket right there? All right.
You know, baby.
It's at the Swamp. Both teams are 4-2. LSU actually has a 63% chance to win this game for Power Index, but Florida is a 3-point favorite, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's at home. It's at the Swamp. Give me the Gators.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, I agree with you. Florida, I picked them last week. They weren't very convincing at home against Missouri. In fact, their offense was quite pitiful. Yeah. And I think this will be a very defensive game, honestly. I think that it will be lower scoring, but I think that home field advantage will definitely bring the Gators to a huge win over Brian Kelly and LSU.
Yeah, so this is going to be a tale of which Anthony Richardson are we gonna see? Are we gonna see the Anthony Richardson that's going to be a number 1 draft pick and could win like 5 Super Bowls when he plays really well? Or is this going to be the Anthony Richardson that makes some real boneheaded plays, turnovers, takes a shot and gets hurt? It seems like every time he runs the ball, he's always getting dinged up. Football is a very physical game. So if Anthony Richardson plays well, I think Florida wins handily. But it seems to me that this Florida team has been having a knack for not really putting teams away and always playing like these really close games. They always seem to pull it out. And if you look at Billy Napier's record in those 1-score games, he's a very fantastic coach. I attribute a lot of that to the analytics and kind of his aggressive mentality of going for it. I think LSU's a little bit kind of on the rocks a little bit, especially like getting shellacked by Tennessee. So I'm going to go with Florida, but I think it's going to be a close game because that's just the way the Florida's played. The defense for Florida has been terrible, so I'm expecting that there'll be some points scored. But we'll see if we get good Anthony Richardson. Maybe the swamp will be rocking, but it could also be a really ugly game too, and I could see it kind of evolving into defensive kind of struggle and relying on the ground game. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have, if last week wouldn't have happened for FSU, this would be a very good game. But, man, FSU, what is you guys doing, guys?
Oh man, can't believe we didn't cover that on this past week. Actually,
seriously, yeah, we didn't have TJ there, so we couldn't really roast FSU. All right, so Clemson 6-0, FSU 4-2. Clemson has a 72% chance to win, and they're a 6.5 favorite. But it is at Doak Campbell. But I'm still going to pick Clemson. They've really turned it around since that first week against Georgia Tech, and they've been playing solid football. I'm going with the Tigers.
I agree with you. They are playing solid football, and they really impressed me in a win over Boston College, which Boston College isn't very good, but they dominated like Clemson should. And so I've got Clemson playing well, and they're going to get a win against Florida State this week. But it'll probably be in that spread range, 6.5, 7 points, probably closer than maybe some people would expect it to be, but it'll be close.
Yeah, I'm also going Clemson. I think on the road it's gonna be tough. This Florida State team, you got to give them props. They battle to the very end. Just when you thought that Jimbo Fisher might have had the worst play call of the weekend, trying to win a football game on the road against the number one team, then Mike Norvell decides that we're going to just sling it away, and they end up throwing an interception when they were in field goal territory. So pretty front. I'm sure Florida State is going to be like, man, we let one get away. So I think they're going to come out. They're going to play hard. They've played hard all year. So you gotta tip your hat to Mike Norvell for getting those guys to play hard. But you gotta put up wins. And I think just Clemson is a more talented team, and they just know how to win close games. Dabo Swinney has proven they're able to find ways to win those games. And Florida State, again, one of those programs that just doesn't know, I think, how to get over the hump and really pull out those tough victories. I think like Miami is also another program like that. It just seems they always seem to lose like very weird close games. And it's been like that for the past couple of years. So not to say each team is different, and any given week, Florida State could just come rolling in and play the best game of the year. And if they play the best game of the year, they absolutely can beat Clemson. But I don't see it happening this week. So Clemson.
Yeah, good pick. And then Mississippi State versus Kentucky, two top 25 teams. It's at Kentucky. Mississippi State was very impressive last week. They're 5-1. Mississippi State has a 59.8% chance to win. They're a 6.5 point favorite. Kentucky did not play very good ball last week at all. So they've been kind of on a downward trend. Pick the Mike Leaches, the Bulldogs, this week.
There you go. So Kentucky's got a long road ahead of them. They got Mississippi State. I think they've got Georgia. They've got to cut. It might have Tennessee coming up in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So they better watch out, because they could be staring at least 5 losses if they don't pick it up, or possibly 6, and barely being bowl eligible. Mississippi State's a team that I've not wanted to believe in, although I did pick them pretty high in the SEC West to start the season. I always know that they're going to have a letdown game at some point. Is this going to be the week? On the road at Kentucky, a Kentucky team that's down and out right now? Possibly. But with what Mississippi State has shown the last couple of weeks, blowing out Texas A&M and then blowing out their opponent last week, who was Boss Hog, right? Yeah, unfortunately.
Sir. Yep, sir.
Yeah, no, sir. So I have to go with Mike Leach. I mean, man, their defense is better than I think it's been under him so far, and the quarterback is just playing incredible.
Yeah, Will Rogers he's fit very well in that system. I'm also going to go with Mississippi State. I think they've already had their letdown game, because they got beat by an LSU team that's probably not as talented, but definitely flawed. I think it's going to be a really interesting next couple of weeks. Mississippi State's got to play Kentucky, and then they're going to go on the road against Alabama. So Alabama's that's kind of an intriguing part of their schedule. Who would have thought that going in at the start of the year that you could legitimately say that maybe the 2 toughest games that Alabama would play would be potentially the Tennessee, Mississippi State, like in back-to-back weeks. But the way that Tennessee and Mississippi State have both been playing, I think there's a legitimate argument to be made that might be some of the tougher games that Alabama plays, especially with the banged-up quarterback. Or both games that they figure to play over these next couple of weeks are probably going to require scoring a lot of points. So Could be really interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. And then last pick, USC versus Utah, West Coast game. So very familiar with that style of football. Utah 61.7. They're on the Football Power Index, that percent to win. And Utah is a 2.5 favorite in this game. And even though they just lost last week and USC is undefeated. So I don't know. The experts over here are saying that USC might lose this week, but I don't know. I think I might have to pick USC. How about you guys?
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to me too that Utah is the favorite. Who knows? That could swing between now and game time to favor USC, depending on what information comes out, or what if it's going to snow and wherever the game's being played in Utah. Who knows? Everything in me wants to say USC's rolling and we'll get the win here. I'm starting to believe that Lincoln Riley is the man for the job at USC. I think in the preseason, I said if he can get them ranked in the top wherever they were preseason, that I'd say all hail Lincoln Riley. Well, I'm pretty close. Still early, but I'm pretty close to saying all hail Lincoln Riley. Okay. But I've got to go with Vegas on this one. I think Utah bounces back. Utah's a decent football team. We've all seen we're talking about UCLA, great football team right now, played well, beat them. So it's not a terrible loss for Utah. Utah has got the ability. Whittingham is a good football coach. They're going to be at home, a great chance to knock off a top. I think what is USC in the top 6 now?
Yeah, USC top 7.
Yeah, top 7 at home. I think that motivation, I still don't know how great USC is on defense. Washington State stayed with them a little bit here recently. There's a really good football team. I just think Utah, I think Vegas has got it right. I think Utah gets the win.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'd also go with Utah. USC has looked really good, and Lincoln Riley has done wonders for that program. This just feels to me like one of those games where they got to go on the road now. And like I said, you go on the road in the Pac-12 and weird things happen. So even though they have a great quarterback in Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, they're going to score points. It just feels like one of those games where Utah is going to be counted out. Everybody's going to be like, yeah, they just don't have it this year. Now that they lost to Florida early, and then they just lost to UCLA. So people are going to be like, they don't got it. But it's still a very talented, tough, gritty football team. They get some turnovers. They play well on defense. They keep it close, and I think pull it out at home. So I'm going to go Utah as well.
All right.
TJ actually did give us his picks, so I'm sure we'll flash them up there as we go through, or have flashed them up there. He went with Michigan, Tennessee, Florida, Clemson, Mississippi State, and USC to round out his picks.
He's picking Tennessee over Alabama, really? Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. Well, some good games to pick this week. Thank you, Jake, for being on the show while we had TJ on the road here in Jacksonville, even if it wasn't the best result. But
thanks for having me. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for showing. All right. Have a good week.
Yeah.
Hey, Jake. All right, up next will be Tales from the Top 20. All right, Tales from the Top 20. Wow, what a week in college football. There were a lot of upsets this week, a lot. Probably more than we've had on the top 20 at any point so far in the first 6 weeks. So our leader for the week, Lucy at 16-4. Man, she's last in the overall standings, but she had a fantastic week and was the best picker this week. So great job, Lucy. We had a few people at 15-5, Dean, John, Cuh, Delane, Maribeth, Maribeth and Carrie-Beth. And then TJ actually ended up at 15-5 as well. Our big mover for the week was Maribeth. She jumped 3 spots up from where she was before the week before, from 23rd to 20. So she's trending upwards. Our Bulls Market awards go to Russell, Ted, Juan, and Jeff. They all jumped up 2 spots in the standings this week from last week. And I got to, again, give a special shout out for Ted. The last 4 weeks, he has jumped 11 spots in the rankings. So he is our super Bulls Market, raising the standard. All right, our Bear Market, I'm sorry, Noah, but it was Noah. Noah
Yeah.
lost 4 spots this week.
Jeez.
You ended up at 12-8, which was our second to worst record. Sorry, man, but you'll have a chance to bounce back this week. Work for Vegas. Who should work for Vegas this week? Lucy. She had 60% of her upset picks come true. That's pretty incredible, actually. And there's a reason why she was first place this week. Shaken, not stirred. Again, Dean, 8 upsets this week. Now, weeks past, Dean has lost all his upsets. He actually got 50% of those upsets correct this week. So that was actually a really nice job by him this week, which put him 15-5 overall. And then the pick of the week, 2 people picked South Carolina over Kentucky. Only 2. That was Dean and Lucy. So great job. It was only 4.5 point spread, but man, if you're 2 out of the 28 people that picked that, excellent job. So where does that leave us for the season? Tammy's still number 1, but she's been caught by John, Delane, and then we've got Carrie Beth after them, 1 game back, 3 games back, Steven and Jake, and then 4 games back, myself, Lindsay, Russell, Ted, and then TJ rounds out that top 11. He's 5 games back from the top spot. And then Noah, you are currently in 15th place, only 8 games back though. So you have some room to make a move. If you have just as good a week as you had bad this week and jump 4 spots up, you're back in the mix too. So that's the top 20 for the week. Man, a lot of hearts were broken this week in top 20. I think it was something like 12 or 13 or 14 out of the 28 people had 7 losses or greater. That's hasn't happened so far on the top 20. So this was a rough week for most everybody.
Well, it was a good week for Eat More Football. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video here, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Eat More Football, and send in any questions about the show or sports or anything in general at our email, eatmorefb@gmail.com. That's Instagram and Twitter at eatmorefootball, and email eatmorefb@gmail.com. See you next time.